Have fun.
All right. So a few weeks ago, I'm killing time, not doing my to-do list, and I saw this tweet by this Pep guy. Anyone heard of this guy? All right. So he was talking about how Dell sent him a personalized, I guess a postcard or something in the mail, and it said his first name and all this stuff, and he's like, still didn't read it and tossed it. This is a talk about personalization. So I want to clear the air really quickly and talk about what personalization is and what personalization isn't in the context of my talk. So I go to a lot of events, I talk to a lot of people, and whenever I tell them about what I do and kind of what I'm into lately, a lot of them say, oh, you know, we personalize. And I'm like, okay, so go on. And oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, it's, yeah, we put people's first names when we send them emails. So, hey, Brennan, then blah, right, in their newsletters. Occasionally, we're getting people who are saying, yeah, we're putting people's company names or weather information or location stuff in headlines on our website. So you come to their website and it says, hey, how is the morning in Austin? We see it's cloudy or something, right? And you're seeing a lot of this kind of, I don't want to use the word gimmicky, but very not useful personalization happening in the wild, where people are basically taking, again, location data, geolocation data, things like, information everyone already knows. I know my name, right? What I want to do is I want to be like what Andrew's saying in response to Pep, which is things I actually want to be personalized on: my intent, my actions, and my knowledge level. What I get personalized on instead, though, is my name, and in this case, his dog's name. So full disclosure, I own a software company. We do personalization software. I'm not here to sell this at all. My goal is on Monday, using the stack and the tools you already have available that you're already using, that you can start to implement a lot of what I'm going to be talking about regarding segmentation and personalization. So no new software required. The only caveat to that is I am going to be talking a lot about email marketing databases. So presumably most people here, anyone not use an email marketing app or something to do stuff? All right, so it's 2019, everyone's doing it, cool. First, before we get into anything regarding personalization, we need to start with segmentation. You cannot personalize unless you have segmentation data, meaning segmentation is the if condition to the then, which is personalization. So segmentation really has 2 primary jobs. The first job is what I'm going to be dedicating the remainder of this talk to, which is making your messaging, both over email and on your website and so on, more relevant, more specific to the person visiting, or reading, I should say. The second thing, which I'm not going to really talk too much about, but I want to float this, is using segmentation to have better reporting. So a lot of us are already doing this through Google Analytics, where we're looking at things like mobile conversions versus desktop conversions and so on. But a lot of us know our conversion rate from visitor to opt-in. But if you were to ask the average marketer, can you break that down by industry? Or can you break that down by need? Or can you break that down by job role? We start to lose that ability. So segmentation done right, especially when merged with your reporting dashboards, can allow you to see really interesting things that will tell you immediately who's converting really well, so you can get more of them. And it'll also tell you who are we leaving behind. Because for those people, that's going to give us an indication of, well, maybe this type of person just isn't really going to buy from us, like college students or something like that. Or it could be telling you very concretely that you're losing these people somehow, that they are not resonating with your offer as well as these other people, giving us effectively an action item for what to do with personalization. So when it comes to, when I think of segmentation, the 2 things I care about are the who and the what. So I try to fill in, if somebody comes to my website, I want to be able to get this information from them. So I am a blank, and I need your help with blank. I'm a marketer, and I need your help with writing proposals. Or I work in retail, and I need your help with increasing average order value. Before I talk about how you get this data, because this is probably something a lot of you are questioning, like, yeah, well, how do I know what people want when they're on my website? I want to give you kind of a preview of what's going to be possible when you have this segmentation data. So imagine that this is a website. I know in the back it's harder to see the bottom of the screen because I was back there the other day. But basically I have a fake CRM software marketing website that I put together. And what I want you to think about is, imagine that if a marketing agency came to the CRM's website, what could we do? How could we show them that we understand them and we're empathetic to them and their needs? So I tend to look at with the who are you, what industry are you in, what job role do you have, how do you identify demographically and so on. I use that data to do two things. The first is to tweak language. So in this case, I'm changing the headline to say, better manage your future clients. So agencies use the word clients. I work in software, so when I have a buyer, I call them a customer. Same thing, a buyer, but different ways of saying really that same thing. And also, I'm changing things like social proof. So the logo wall will be marketing companies, or the featured case study will be somebody just like them, because people want to see themselves in your product or service. And if you're giving them kind of a shotgun blast of, look at all the social proof, it can be a little overwhelming, especially if they don't see somebody immediately who is like them. So I look at the who as being, how can I show somebody that I get them using the language that they use, but also how can I give them basically examples of how we've helped people like them in the past. Now, when I know the what, so when I know what it is they need to get from me, I use that to then effectively post-process even further the language on the site, but also change the offer or change the positioning of the offer, which is something I'll talk about in a second. So now we've understood that they are a marketing agency, but they also are struggling with automation. So they want software that will help them with basically automating the way that they manage their lead follow-ups and so on. So if you think about it, people have different reasons for the same software. So CRM software, some people might want reporting. So they're very big on wanting to know at a top level, how can I stay on top of all the different leads we have and so on and so forth. For them, that's the benefit that they care about. A lot of us talk about benefits as being some universal truth, but really, we all have different benefits that we care about for coming to a conference. Some people are here to learn a ton from presentations. Others are here primarily to network, so on and so forth. So we all have different reasons for wanting a product or a service. So again, I would use the what to change more language, but also to change the way that I position and present different offers. Now, before I get into how do you actually figure this stuff out, I want to talk about your email service provider as being your single source of truth. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that all data should ultimately feed into, or at least be mirrored, in your email service provider, meaning purchase stuff, website behavior, survey data, all that should be synced into your email marketing app. Because I'm going to be showing you in the next section how we're going to use your email marketing database to effectively authenticate people on your website. So when somebody on your list is on your website, you know that they are contact 123, and you know that they've bought this and done that and registered for this event and so on. So you can change the calls to action. You can change the content on your website accordingly. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about different ways that you can go ahead and automatically segment people. So at scale, or delivering personalized experiences at scale, means we need to have a way to automatically profile people. So I've broken this down into really three different methods. The first is intent or behavior. So what are people consuming on your website? I like to, one easy thing to do, and again, this might take some dev talent, but I know a lot of you work at companies with those resources available. But do something simple like, what are the last 10 or 20 articles that somebody has read on our website? And then let's just figure out a leaderboard, and what's the top category? So people are mostly reading articles on, I've been doing a lot of camera research, so let's say Canon, right? So I'm going all in on Canon. Well, what does that tell me? What does that tell somebody based on the way that I'm reading website content that has a lot of different content for a lot of different categories? What does that tell somebody about what I need? I'm obviously looking for stuff about Canon as a company. So reading behaviors is kind of low-hanging fruit. It's if you do any sort of content marketing and you're not super niche in the sense that you have different types of categories of content, analyzing reading behavior is a great way of getting intent of what somebody needs from you. There's also the original landing page, especially if they come from social, or not social, search. So we don't get search data anymore. Google doesn't tell us that Brennan just searched for X, Y, and Z, and now he's here. A lot of privacy reasons why they remove that. If you've ever gone into GA and saw not provided as your #1 search term, that's because Google effectively shut that down, I think, what, in 2011, 2012, somewhere around then. But if they land on your blog post on how do you start a business, what does that tell you about that person? Are they looking to scale? Or are they looking to sell? No, they're looking to start a business. So by virtue of how they got to you, that tells a lot about what they might need from you. There's also the ad they clicked. This is especially true for things like Facebook ads, where you can target different demographics and different interests. So if I'm targeting a certain demographic or people who like a certain thing, by the fact, Facebook's not going to give you data that they have a lot of data, but they're not going to give it to you freely. But if you have an ad that's targeting a certain type of person and that person clicks that ad, well, Facebook's effectively copying over some of that data. Not to get too political, but a lot of the Cambridge Analytica stuff stemmed from doing a lot of this stuff. You can do it for good. You can do it for, I've seen people who are targeting, say, younger men, younger women, older women for fitness stuff. And when they come to the landing page that the ad drives people to, they're seeing somebody just like them who has succeeded from this fitness product. So that's what I'm getting at with ad clicked. There's also referral. We have a customer, Bookify. They get a lot of traffic from Capterra.com. Capterra is a big review site. And all they're doing is they're saying, if somebody comes from Capterra, meaning they're researching and review sites and so on, the headline on their homepage changes to Capterra's #1 scheduling software. So before it was just scheduling software or something like that. From Capterra becomes that. And they've had a 300% increase in trial signups from Capterra as a result of doing that. So first is behavior. These are things people are doing that they might not know they're doing. The second are actual actions, so purchases, lead magnets they're downloading. So if they opt into your ebook for, again, how to start a business, well, that tells you a lot about kind of what they probably need from you. Webinars they've attended. These are just concrete actions people are taking. The primary one, I think, being purchases. And I'll talk about, when we get into the offer funnel in the next stage, I'll talk a bit more about what that means. And then finally, there's surveying. So the fallback is a lot of us don't have the ability to do really good intent-based segmentation, so ask people. So you could do something like this. This is a very common pattern. Most email marketing apps allow you to do what are called trigger links, where when somebody clicks a link, you can write data to their record in that email marketing app database. So you could do something like, hey, what are you most focused on right now, or what do you need help with the most? When they opt in, and then by clicking on one of these, that data is now associated with their record in your CRM. Likewise, you can do on-site surveying. So on the first day, there's a lot of talk about surveying people, right? What I find interesting, beyond the macro level surveying stuff, direction and trying to figure out who your audience is to be able to say, if this person is here because they have reason X need, well, why not store that information about that person so that from then on out in different touch points, we can be talking about how we can help with X. Whereas the next person shows up, or the next 5 people show up and they all have a Y need, well, yeah, let's store that information against them. So you still get that macro, like what is the overall tenor or the tone of what people need from us, but you can also individually say that this person needs help because they have this issue, and then you can work with them individually at scale. And then finally, there's hosted surveying. That would be driving people to like a type form where they fill out this form. It would need to be, in this case, more drop-down based instead of open-ended, because if you want to segment, you can't, unless you're doing some crazy natural language processing stuff, you more likely need to have like a drop-down or a check yes or no type thing. The thing I left out, which would also be included, would be things like Clearbit. So if you wanted to pull in data automatically about an email address, industry, company size, and so on, you could use that to, again, enrich that record in your email marketing database. All right, so what if you don't know how you should segment? What if you don't know your audience? I'm gonna give a very quick amateur overview of what Els and Joanna talked about on day one, which is if you don't have these hard segments or this concrete persona set up yet, how do you figure this out? So one thing that I like to do is, again, I don't work in big e-commerce. I'm more on the SaaS and the kind of info marketing trading side of things. So oftentimes, there's a very personal connection I have with the people that I write to. So in the onboarding of my newsletter, I'll ask people to reply and tell me a bit about who they are and what they want. And then eventually, over time, I can start to normalize that. I'll show you an example of that in a second. I also like to do things where if somebody joins, say, an email course, or they join a lead magnet or something like that, give them a worksheet. And in this worksheet, ask them point blank, what do you need to get from this email course? Because one thing I'm doing is I have an email course that is my primary lead magnet that leads people to a paid course. So if they tell me what they need help with, why they joined this free email course, that's going to help me get segmentation info, which I now have, that when they get to the paid course, which is kind of the upsell if you think about it, I'm going to be able to personalize the way I present that course accordingly. So once you have all this raw data, you're going to want to normalize it somehow. Somebody mentioned spreadsheets yesterday. Yes. Get this raw data in, and then just basically look it over and look for trends. Start to try to pick out maybe 3 or 4 different concrete segments that people naturally fit into, and then that's a good starting point. All right, so once we have our segmentation in place, the next step is to create what I call an offer funnel. So, little show of hands in a second. Who has ever gotten an email from a company that advertised, say, their latest blog post? And then you click that email, you go over to their latest blog post, and then you're hit with this. Has anyone ever received an email and then clicked to their website and was asked for your email? Why? If you think about it, that would be like me, and that's the equivalent of saying, hey, I forgot your name, online, right? The problem is, how do I know if someone is a subscriber or a customer? So this is primarily a tooling issue, right? So if somebody, you're using software like Sumo or OptinMonster or something, they don't know who somebody is. And some of them have this functionality now, but for the most part, they don't. So if somebody comes over from your latest newsletter, or let's just say they've opted in, they've been a customer for a while, they come back later, how do you know who they are? So remember how I mentioned your email service provider, your email marketing database should be your single source of truth. A few of these companies make it really, really easy to effectively authenticate people when they get an email from you and click over to your website. So let me give you an example of this in action. So imagine I'm here at this conference, I'm killing time in between talks, and I'm looking on my phone, and I'm on some blog post or something, and somebody is promoting an ebook. I read this article, it sounded really good, I want to find out more, type in my email address, and I get that ebook emailed to me, right? Very common pattern. Now, let's say they're using ConvertKit, an email marketing app on the back end. What should be happening here is, by virtue of the redirect to the thank you page, there's going to be information in that URL that says this is this subscriber 123 or something like that, some unique ID. So we cookie that. We remember that this person is now this subscriber record in ConvertKit. Cool. We now have a two-way relationship between ConvertKit and our website at that point. So now let's say ConvertKit emails out the here's your free ebook, and I don't want to read an ebook on my phone, so later on, I'm back home, I load up the iMac and I open my email, I read the ebook, I like it, I go back to their site, I buy. By clicking on that link that was emailed me, now my desktop computer is linked to that same ConvertKit record. So my phone and my desktop, both devices are linked to the same record, which if you're a developer like I am, that's effectively a user record, right? That's the user record for that person. So by clicking a link or by opting in, they're effectively authenticating. So now they buy on their desktop, and now the next time they're on their phone, guess what? They're not being asked for their email. They're not being asked to buy the thing they've already bought. This should be the thing that most of us are striving toward, because it doesn't make sense to ask for email addresses or to promote stuff that people have already bought to people who have already done that stuff. So in terms of an actual funnel, I'm only going to go over, short on time, so I'm only going to go over the first one. So an offer funnel would be something like this. So let's say you're a software company. You have anonymous people come to your blog. You know, you're smart enough to know, don't sell them on the trial when they just showed up from Google. They're not ready yet. So you get them to opt into like your newsletter or a lead magnet. From then on out, you want to get them to do a trial. And then once they've done a trial, you want to get them to convert to, say, a monthly plan. And then maybe you want monthly people to upgrade or to pay annually. So this is what I mean by offer funnel. It's what should somebody do next based on what they've already done. One cool way of being able to do this is using your email marketing app's automation editor. Instead of sending email with it, use it to write data. So kind of like a Plinko board in Price is Right, where Price is Right, where, you know, have they done this? Yes. If not, go down here, you know, yes, no, if, then. And then write data that you can then sync to your website and also use to make it so you're only sending emails that are, like, you can do a newsletter. Your PS could be dynamic and say, hey, why not upgrade your account or something like that, and only customers get that, whereas everyone else would be getting a, hey, why don't you start a trial, or something like that. A combination of life cycle stage, so where they are in your funnel, combined with who they are, so how do they identify and what they want, that creates a perfect offer. What this leads to is more relevance. So imagine, we all want more open rates on emails, we all want more click-through rates. The way to do that is not just by sticking in their first name. Show them examples, show them content in your emails that are more appropriate for them. When they're on your site, show them calls to action that tell them, hey, you use ActiveCampaign, you haven't done anything with personalization yet, here's how I can help you. Do things like this, which then can ultimately lead them to sales pages that are very specific to them and their needs. So if you're on our site and you have never done anything with personalization and you said use ConvertKit, this is going to be the pricing page's header. Simple stuff. It's the same stuff we do offline. I wouldn't, you know, if you go to a lawyer and you say, hey, I'm looking to, you know, get a divorce or something, they're not going to start talking to you about like criminal law and about this other stuff. They're going to stay focused on what it is you need. What it allows us to effectively get is niching without actually needing to niche. We all know niching works, but if we have a product or a service that works for a lot of different people with a lot of different needs, we can effectively niche on the fly. All right. So we've got 4 minutes, 42 seconds to talk about, is this worth it? Does it make sense? So let's look at case study data. So you probably remember Joanna. I think, yeah. So I don't remember where I got this quote, but I've been using it a lot. So we want to get to a place where we're so specific at the right points that the reader's brains get engaged. What would this thing, this product service, look like in their lives? Do they know what I'm trying to say, or are they doing all the work themselves? Emphasis mine on the last bit. Personalization is better for you because it leads to more conversions, but it's also better for your customers because it gives them a better experience, which are directly correlated. Better experiences lead to more conversions. At the end of the day, anyone engaging with you wants to know, how can you help me? If I'm reading a sales page, I want to know, how does this help me? If I'm looking at some email opt-in thing that you're showing me, how does this help me? Remember what Andrew said. I want to be personalized based off of what it is. I want you to know what I need so that I can get what I need from you in a better, more seamless way. I'm a longtime customer of a company called Help Scout. They do help desk software. I've been a customer of theirs for like 7 years, and every time I read their latest blog post, I'm getting hit with this. It makes no sense. I'm on their homepage. I'm a customer. I'm about to go log in. I'm being told to start a demo. Again, why aren't they helping me? Push me to a training webinar or something like that. Why are we putting all the work on our readers? Why are we leaving it up to them to figure out what to do next, when we should have an idea of, given who you are and what you've done, what should happen next with you? All right, so less thinking equals more engagement equals more conversion. So you're probably thinking less thinking. By less thinking, what I'm getting at is people don't want to need to think and translate, all right, I'm seeing all this stuff, how does this help me? So if we can tell them that directly, that's going to lead to more people thinking, okay, this is for me, right? They're going to keep scrolling down the page, they're going to see your offer, they're going to see your buy button, they're going to see all that kind of stuff. more conversions, right? Less thinking, more engagement, more conversions. So let's look at a few examples. So this is an example of a survey funnel that's kind of across an entire site. And after people answer 3 questions, they're getting a personalized offer. So based on the answers to the 3 questions, the way that the email opt-in is positioned, it's the same thing regardless of what you answer, but the way it's described changes. So this is for stacking the bricks. The results are insane. This has been running about 4 weeks now for, I think, 20, 30,000 people have hit the site since this has been up. They're getting a very high engagement rate, and they're getting a very high personalized offer to opt-in rate, which leads to about almost a 20% anonymous visitor, not returning, but anonymous visitor conversion rate. Now you're probably thinking, okay, this is like those weight loss infomercials where it's like, that couldn't happen to me. But if you've ever looked at content upgrade conversion data, it's super high, because why do content upgrades, which are lead magnets specific to one blog post, why do they work so well? Well, they're really relevant. So if you can make your offers super relevant, they're naturally going to convert higher. Pat Flynn, he's been profiling his audience over the last 4 months or so, 5 months, and finding out things like, do you have an email list? Do you ever want a podcast? Do you want to do this? What state is your business at? And then what he's doing is, last Cyber Monday, he drove everyone to an offer page for his Cyber Monday deal, and he A/B tested it, and he found that the personalized offer page, which basically said, you should buy this, converted at 138% more than the control, which led to a nice 6-figure bump in his Black Friday takings. Intercom, who I think are here, they did kind of a similar thing, where what they did is they hired a sales engineer a while back, and if you Google Intercom personalization, the article that surrounds this will come up. But what they did is they basically just found out who, based on inbound ad clicks, how can we show different benefits and different features based on what people care about? Is this black magic? Is it spammy growth hacks? Is it impossible to replicate results that make for good slides? No. What this is at the end of the day is we're just making our content and our messaging much more relevant to the people that are engaging with us and our company. Great personalization is not about telling people what they already know. It's not about what they already know. It's about telling them what to do next and why they should do it. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Brennan. I'll grab that from you.
Awesome.
All right, so we do have some questions for you. First one, we'll just start there. How do I make sure all my personalization efforts survive ITP 2.1?
Okay, this will show my ignorance. What is ITP 2.1?
Who asked this question? Someone want to explain it?
It's the 7 days on the cookie. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's the what?
The internet tracking protection, the 7-day cookie limit, which may become a 1-day cookie limit from Safari and Firefox.
So would that mean I need to log into all my SaaSes every day?
It means if you don't hit the site again as a user, the cookie disappears.
Right, okay. Well, at the end of the day, because we're not keeping all this data client-side, it's ultimately being housed in a CRM. Even though the link might break between this device is linked with this record, at the end of the day, that linking is effectively refreshed every time they click an email from you. So if they're coming back to your site primarily by email, then that hopefully wouldn't be that big of an issue. But honestly, I don't know about the cookie changes from Safari and stuff. So, yeah.
Next question, relevant to the talk that just happened. How does personalization affect SEO?
So unless Googlebot is a subscriber in your email marketing database, it shouldn't, because there's still, the default is effectively like incognito mode to your homepage. Nothing will change. It's going to be whatever you have currently. Where it really gets interesting is when you start looking at behavior and you know, where do they come from, referral source. And to my knowledge, Googlebot isn't crawling sites with like referral stuff set of like random domains and stuff, I don't think. But so far we've had a lot of customers using us for a while now, and no one's ever had any issue, including us, with any SEO impact.
That's all the time we have for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brennan.
Excellent. Yep.